As we continue our Paschal journey towards Ascension and Pentecost, this fourth Sunday of Easter, the Church offers us Jesus, the Good Shepherd, as gift, as we are welcomed into his fold, and as mission, as in our own Paschal transformation, we're invited to go from sheep to shepherd. As gift, this is a very broad invitation and a welcoming fold, because Jesus enters into personal relationship with so many, primarily like you and me, sinners, those who've fallen, those who are broken and away, and he invites them to walk with him. He calls us by name. There was a bit of a movement not so long ago that seemed to be rejoicing at the dwindling numbers in the church, because somehow we would become stronger and more faithful if all of the cafeteria Catholics, the ones that didn't embrace the whole message, were left outside. And I always found myself looking to defend the fact that Jesus calls sinners into communion. And I don't think he would be happy with a smaller, sleeker, more faithful church. But in any case, those tables have largely turned, and sometimes those who before saw others leaving and thought it was okay, now find themselves on the edges of a certain cafeteria Catholicism, making their own way. And I just would suggest that, especially in light of Jesus being this shepherd who calls us into communion, calls us into his flock, these are very dangerous judgments to make of one another, because each of us, maybe Jesus and Mary being the exceptions, but each of us fall short, and each of us are in one way or another colored by our own preferences and ideologies and beliefs and experiences, and none of us are sheep that perfectly follow the shepherd. And yet he invites us and welcomes us and calls us by name into his flock. And it becomes that relationship with the Lord that makes us able to follow him, not a relationship with a moral code or a set of commandments or an ideology or a politic, but rather a relationship with a shepherd who calls us, whose name, whose voice we recognize, whose love we have experienced, a love that is shown in this Paschal mystery on the cross and given power in the resurrection and ascension. So we're welcomed largely, broadly, with many others, to be part of this flock, his chosen flock. But that's not quite enough. We also find in these Easter mysteries a call to move ourselves from being sheep to shepherds. We see this maybe better than anywhere with Peter's call as this braggart, right? The one who always kind of led, but never shepherded. The hired servant, if there ever was one. Remember when Jesus, the Lamb, is taken, Peter runs off and hides as the wolves attack. Peter, who always had much to say, but rarely had much of anything to do. Peter, whose love was spoken with loud words, but not always lived in his actions. A sincere friendship, probably like yours or mine, but not yet the love of a good shepherd. But in his Easter journey, from the death of his own ego, of the tears that are cried as he mourns his own frailty, his own selfishness. And he's called and transformed in the resurrection to new life, prepared for the Spirit that will come upon him. He learns that love will be to serve, to tend the sheep, that he will follow in Jesus' footsteps and offer his life in love. And our own Easter transformation, this new life that will be ours, is offered to us not just as sheep, but as an invitation to become shepherds. And what an incredible world we would have if each of us would look at our brothers and sisters as personal relationship. It's so easy to cast aside those who are other, those who are apart, those we don't know, those who have failed. But those we love, we don't readily cast aside. It's easy to write off other people's children, not so much our own. And as we are called to be shepherds, we're invited to enter into this kind of loving relationship with the sheep, with those who are still at risk of being lost, of wandering away, those who are still at risk of being eaten by wolves or chased down. And we're invited to put our lives there, to put our love there, where we can care for them and love them and protect them. We might not have to go far from home to do this. It might be our own children and friends and spouses. Maybe we don't have to go far from home because there are strangers who come here and need to be loved and welcomed with a shepherd's love. So easy to write them off, to say they don't belong, they should go somewhere else, to ignore their struggles and problems, their dangers and harms. But we're invited to lay down our lives as good shepherds. We're invited into a relationship of love with the shepherd who loves us, but also as we become transformed as shepherds who love all of our brothers and sisters.
You lead me to rest in fields of clover, near waters so restful and pure, where you alone renew